Hey everybody, watch this review here with a look at Cable from the Marvel Legends 2-packs, Cable and Marvel Girl. Bought this one loose, so I don't have the Marvel Girl. No big loss, frankly, because the Marvel Girl was basically just a recycled Marvel Girl sculpt from the Brood Queen series. Then it had a different head sculpt, because it was the Jean Grey Marvel Girl, I believe, instead of the Rachel Summers. Now, for people who just want to see the review, you can skip ahead 90 seconds to about 3 minutes because I want to just discuss my entire buying practices and so forth beforehand. Now, I actually got a video request to do a Cable some months ago. Of course, I didn't own a Cable at that point, so I couldn't review them, and frankly, Cable's not near the top of my list of stuff to buy. It's my first year collecting. So I've got like a ton of other stuff that I really want to pick up instead, which I basically mentioned. But recently I was trying to pick up some Giganta parts, and I won an auction for one of the arms, so I figured I'd toss some other figures on top of that. I actually didn't get the other parts that were with the other ones, didn't win them. They went up a bit high, and frankly it did become cheaper just to buy the whole thing, so I ended up picking up the whole Giganta for $60, another $10 shipping and handling, which made October a pretty expensive month. I'll review the Giganta whenever I finally receive it, but in general, I had ordered the Giganta arm, the Calabac arm that came with Hawkman, because Hawkman comes, I think, 20 to 30 mint in package, and I don't feel like paying that much just because I want Hawkman and the Build-A-Figure piece. Solomon Grundy Wave, Deathstroke the Terminator, and Cable. Paid, I think, $9.25 or $9.75 for Deathstroke. $8.25 or $8.75 for Cable. Both are pretty decent figures. I would definitely want him just for the character. My very first Superhero Squads figure, the Blob. He's so adorable. And a used copy of Fellowship of the Ring, which I thought was the only really great Lord of the Rings movie. Mostly because I love the whole Mines of Moria and so forth. So now you're probably thinking to yourself, okay, WTR, what's the problem? Well, for these 6 items, which came in this tiny box right here, came out to be $14.17, I think, shipping and handling, because I thought this seller was another seller who does their shipping and handling by weight as opposed to subtracting half off each of the shipping costs for each of the additional things, which is just a completely bullshit way to process shipping and handling. I mean, there's a lot of other ones I've seen where they've dropped like an X amount onto off of it, but even then, you know, it's cheaper than what happened with this because the shipping and handling costs really racked up quickly. But to give you an idea of weight versus just straight up percentages, this right here is the box that I got of stuff that I got for $14.50 shipping and handling, maybe, from another seller. It was 5 different items, including a Craven bust, which obviously is pretty heavy, and originally would have had shipping and handling costs of $10 on it. And, you know, in addition to all that, you know, I just love this seller because he shipped one of the Essentials comics in this sort of like foam and stuff. I mean, who does that? I mean, that's so freaking cool. I've never seen that much protection given to anything. But yeah, you know, it's just my little mini rant. 100% my fault, but going forward, I'm trying to avoid buying anything from that seller, just because I don't like that policy. By the way, this wasn't actually loose. It was mint on blister, or mint on interior package, not mint on the actual board. So I'm the first one to actually handle most of these things, except for the Slade. The Slade didn't have any of the packaging with it. Right, so actual review time. Now this is an incredibly nice looking figure. I like the overall sculpt much, much better than the earlier Cable from the Toy Biz line. However, this is the sort of rendition of Cable I'm used to. This is the Cable that was sitting up on my shelf for years next to my Apocalypse and Strife. So, you know, none of the Cables quite live up to that. There's a big rifle here and this crazy suspenders, but what can you do? Other than that, this is a really nice looking dude. He's got an insane amount of detail on the arm and so forth. Not a lot of unique paints, but good muscular detail. Lots of little detail. I mean, this definitely looks like the vest is upraised from the rest of the costume. One problem is, for whatever reason, ab/diaphragm joint's completely busted. he was straight out of the blister, like he still had all the little plastic things holding him in place. By the way, I know I mentioned before I like those plastic things because you can get them off a lot easier, but one of them jammed in one of his arms, and it took forever to get the stupid thing out, so I am rescinding my opinion. I do not like those little rubber bands. But yeah, his guns come rubber banded into place. I'm not going to take them off just because I don't want to ever remove his guns, but he does hold them pretty well because he's got a finger joint here. All the fingers are one, and he can push that into that, so he probably does hold it neatly, and he's got a holster over here for if you ever want to put away one of the guns. Now, why they'd give you one holster instead of two, no clue, but it is what it is. The face, I think, is pretty neat looking. It's a pretty good likeness. Looks a little thin, though. I'm used to him having like a square jaw for some reason, but whatever. In terms of articulation, you've got the fingers as I mentioned. You've also got the wrist, which will move back and forth. Then, of course, it'll rotate or swivel. Double joint at elbow. Bicep joint. Arm moves. The shoulder will pop out a little bit to the side. Head will move. Goes up a good amount, but it's got that really ugly joint there. Hate that joint. Plus, from the way that the neckline goes into the upper, into the vest and so forth, I'd half expect the neckline to also move, but it doesn't. It's the ab/diaphragm joint is very nicely concealed with the vest as it is, which I really like. But as I mentioned, mine's busted. Waist will move. Leg has the usual kind of cruddy joint. Well, I mean, it's got the actually usual range of motion where it can just kick forward as always, then go back a little bit. Not a whole lot back. I mean, although it does look like those other crappy joints they use, it's clearly not because it doesn't go into a crescent kick. Goes out to the side fine. All in all, I'm very impressed with this figure, and this is what the Marvel Legends line should be for what Hasbro's giving us, instead of some of the other stuff they've recently done where the legs kind of move funky. Double joint at the knee. Calf will rotate. A little stiff. That's good. Ankle. And toe. All in all, very neat figure. Lots of veins bulging and so forth, although they don't use any sort of like tans or anything to like make the arm more distinct, but that's cool. Now, face and arm have the same flesh tone, which is nice. A lot of the Marvel Legends figures, even the Toy Biz ones, don't have it. Wow, it looks like he's stuffing his pants there. He must think he's a rock star or something, but that's a detail that you normally don't have on Marvel Legend figures either, you know. And it's not what I'm exactly comfortable with. It's not the sort of detail I look for, but whatever. As you can see, he's got the little straps and stuff. This is separate plastic for these attachments. For whatever reason, they didn't go through the trouble of attaching this one all the way across. They did the same thing here. I guess as soon as it's out of sight, they don't care if there's a whole thing going there, but cheesy, I know, but everything else in this figure is just so top-notch. As far as I'm concerned, this is like a 10 out of 10, or as close to a 10 out of 10 as I give for a 10 out of 10. Just because I like the sculpt, the colors are all vibrant, all look great. I don't have any paint defects on this. I very rarely get a figure that doesn't have paint defects. I mean, that's like once in a blue moon. And they have details on his ass. I don't like that. Other than that, you know, great figure. I'd highly recommend this one. Very neat. Sucks that he has pistols instead of like a cannon or a rifle, and the detail on these pistols isn't great, but otherwise, really great figure. Highly recommend. Or would highly recommend. Definitely happy I picked this one up, especially because everything else I got from this I was sort of disappointed with, except for, of course, the Slade and the... Well, actually, just really disappointed on the shipping aspect. Everything else was neat as to be expected. Slade I'll review. I keep calling him Slade because I'm used to the cartoon Teen Titans at this point. But Deathstroke the Terminator I'll probably review when I put up my Joker review. And yeah, until next time, folks.